Okay, here we are, ready to cut our first stencil. I've got the Cricut design space up on the computer, and I have put 2 pieces of 9x12 stencil paper shiny side up on the blue mats. I have one and I have a second one ready to go. These are sticky mats and they'll hold it in place. If you use the green mat, you might never get it off again. It's too sticky. And if you don't do it shiny side up, your image will be reversed. So you feed it in between these 2 little tabs on the machine until it just hits the rollers, and then you press this arrow, the up and down arrow, and it will load it. And I don't think it loaded. Let me do it again. There we go. That time it grabbed it and it pulled it in a little ways. You got to make sure it does that. Then you come back over here to the computer and you click continue. And because I'm using my personal computer and not the one we set up for you guys to use, it's a Bluetooth connection and it takes a second or 2 to connect. I want to make sure that you see over here on the dial that it's set to paper. We have other people using this machine and they may put it on vinyl or iron-on or whatever they're using. So always make sure you check for paper. And we're still waiting for it to load. Any second now. Here we go. All right. Now this C is flashing. That means it's ready to go. So you press that button. And it's going to feed it in and cut it. Depending on how complex your design is, it can take a while to do this step. You can see on here it says 2%, 3%. So I'm going to pause the video and then we'll come back to what we do when it's done. So you can see it's almost done. The smoother your lines are and the less junk you have on the outside edges, the quicker it takes to cut. And this took about 2 minutes. So that's significantly less than 40 minutes to do it by hand. So what it's doing is feeding it back out, and you press the blinking button again, and then you take that mat out. So after you've cut the first one, it's going to give you a message that you're ready to cut the second one. And if things were lined up properly, that would be fine, but they aren't. So make sure you hit cancel. Are you sure you want to cancel the cut? Yes. And then come back to this one and do the same thing where you are centering your image. So we're at about 4.5 out of 9. Sorry, it's out of 12. So we got to put it in the middle of 6. And then 4.5 this way, so I can come down a little ways. As long as you've got like 1 inch or so all the way around, you're going to be good. Now I can hit continue. And then I can load my second stencil paper. I'm not convinced it grabbed it, so I'm going to do it again. There we go. That time I actually saw it grab it. And now I'm going to press the little blinking C, and it's going to start cutting. And you should see it move down a ways into your stencil paper. While it's cutting that one, I'm going to show you how to weed the stencil that you have. So it's going to be challenging because I only have one hand because I have to hold the phone. So I'm just going to peel this off of the backing sheet, and you can see that some of it is staying stuck down, which makes it pretty easy for you. And then if this was done properly, this should all be cut through. Might be some little points that stick. I'm just carefully pulling this off. If there's anything that doesn't really cut, I recommend you take an X-Acto knife and clean it up. You don't want to rip it. You don't want to pull too hard because you might tear the part of the stencil you're trying to keep. This would be easier if I had 2 hands. Pulling up the antenna. There we go. It left a little bit there, but I can get that out with an X-Acto knife. And then we just pull out all of the little pieces as well. And I have tweezers that you can use to do that, or like an X-Acto knife. And then once you've pulled all of those out, you're ready to print. There will be some things, you know, stuck to the board, so you want to carefully peel those up either with a finger or with tweezers to get them off and make it ready for the next person. So I have to go in and pull out the little pieces. Okay, so this second stencil is done. It says it's done, but it's still finishing up. And it took significantly longer than the first one because, as I said before, I had done it from an actual screen print. So the edges were a little fuzzy, which might make it harder to peel the stencil off, to get the little pieces to come off. If this board were stickier, more of them would stay stuck to the board. So I will show you what this looks like when I'm done peeling it. So here's what it looked like when I peeled it off of the board. And here is the first stencil, and here is the second stencil. And if I just very carefully line them up, they're going to fit perfectly in together. They're all cut and ready to print.